If you've ever tried to put together a craft project and you've gone to some of the big name craft stores like Michael's and Joann's and Hobby Lobby to buy everything you need, you probably realize that crafting can be a really expensive hobby to get into. And for some of you, that might have turned you off to crafting entirely because it's really expensive and not everybody can afford all of the fancy supplies and brand names that they sell at those stores. But you guys know that I like to try to do things really cheap. I like to try to find supplies that I already have or things that I can find for free and kind of redo them, turn them into something really cool, do some recycling, upcycling, and things like that. And so I'm going to show how you can make a really cool project with some things that can be found at the dollar store. I had a whole bunch of these little, they're just little kid flip-flops, and I bought all different sizes at the dollar store, and $1. And I mean, you can get them at Walmart, sometimes even for 50 cents. When summer's over, they'll throw them all in a big bin. You can get a whole bunch of them. So I stocked up on them last year, wasn't sure what I was going to do with them, and been trying to think of a craft that I can make. And I kind of had some ideas, and I'll explain what I pulled out here and what I want to make with all of this. Kind of going with a nautical theme. You know, it's Florida, so it's really easy to find a lot of the decorations for that. So it's really easy to find flip-flops at the dollar store. So I did get a pair of those that I pulled out, and I had this rope from the Dollar Tree. So you get 9.5 feet of that, and it's really nice quality, very thick rope, and I have a plan for that, and I'll explain that later. I did cut out a word on the Cricut, and I haven't peeled off the vinyl yet, but this is ready to go. But this could easily be done, you know, using a paint marker or just freehand with a small brush or something like that. So you don't even need a word, really. It's just to give it a little something extra. I have a canvas that came from the dollar store. You can even paint over an old canvas, one that maybe got messed up or one that you don't care about anymore or want to kind of revamp it and do something different. This is an 11 by 14, so I've got that pulled out and ready. It's just a plain one from the dollar store, so it's a board canvas. I have a drawing that I just freehanded with the help of a couple of templates, like some buckets and bowls and things that I could use for the circle, and also a ruler just to make sure that I had my lines lined up perfectly. But this is supposed to look like a boat steering wheel, and I have a sheet of graphite, which this stuff can be used over and over and over, as you know, and you can clearly see that on there. I also have some painter's tape, which is used to tape down the graphite and the paper to the canvas so it doesn't wiggle around and you don't need someone to hold it for you in place. Got a Sharpie, which is what I used to do my markings in the first place on my drawing. Got brushes pulled out, the sizes that I want to use, and that's all I'm going to be using for brushes. I got some paint water in a cup that was also reused over and over and over. You don't need anything fancy for that. Got a paint rag that gets used over and over and over. You can use an old t-shirt for this. And a palette and all my colors. So let me explain kind of what I want to do, and then I will get started on this. So every year we've always done this craft with flip-flops where we can paint on them. We can use paint pens to kind of decorate the sides or even the tops of them. And then we use little scraps of yarn and ribbons and strings to kind of dress them up with a little fringe and just make knots all along the little flaps there. And so I bought all these flip-flops, you know, a whole bunch of them last year when they were going on sale at Walmart, and when I saw them at the dollar store I stocked up. But I wanted to do something a little different this year, so you know I had these plain ones, and they're just the regular foamy ones, the regular thick foam, and I wanted to try to paint on them. So what I did was I took one of the larger pairs that I know I'm probably not going to be using for anybody, because if it's for you know, save the small ones for a kid's craft because those are tiny, but these are pretty big. So I used one of the larger sizes that I don't think I'll be using for anything else, and I pulled the little, you know, just the little rubber piece out of there, and it popped out really easy. But you can even use some cutters to get that out if you want to. And I painted them with one coat of some nice thick white paint. I just used folk art for that, painted the sides but not the backs. And I want to do something on here where I want to use some tape, block off some areas, and do some vertical stripes on here. So I'm going to be doing that, and kind of make this look like, you know, a fun nautical theme, but almost like something that reminds you of like a ship, something kind of classy, something that's not so silly and piratey, but you know, something that's a little more like, I don't know, upscale, I guess. So then I have this, which is what I'm going to use to kind of replace those rubber pieces that were in there. So I'm going to, you know, with the help of a hot glue gun, I think I'm going to kind of fix that in place. And then maybe if I can't get the knot looking the way I want it to, I might put a little shell or something on top of there. So let me get this blocked off with the tape, and then we'll get started painting some vertical stripes on these guys. So I just went and put some tape, made sure my lines were straight, and know that the ones that are going in between that are showing white right now is what's going to be colored, and I chose navy blue for that. I couldn't really decide if I was going to do navy blue or like a tan or something else that would go with the nautical beachy theme, but I went with the navy blue. And I know that when I peel up the tape, there's a chance that some of the white paint that I've already got on the flip-flops could come up, but I think that's okay because it could look aged, weathered, you know, whitewash. So I think that's a cool look for this, and so I'm not going to be upset if that happens. So I'll just peel these up now. I know it's still wet, so I am not quite ready to put the ropes in there, and you can tell because it's black underneath, it did pull away some of the white paint. That's okay, not a big deal. Okay, so I'll set that aside to dry over here. I won't bother blowing them dry because it's a really thin coat of paint and the white was already dry when I started on this. You do want to make sure that that is dry because you're going to be putting the tape down and the tape isn't going to stick onto wet paint. And I think I'll leave my edges white. You won't see the back. And while these are drying, set them over there. There it is. I'm going to work on the background part of my canvas. So let me just pull this guy out. Remember, if you've seen some of the other videos that involve using graphite on a canvas or putting an image down on a canvas, you'll remember that I do the background first and then I will do the graphite transfer design on top of it. That way I don't have to worry about going around small little areas trying to squeeze a background in and then possibly messing up what I'm trying to do. So like if you're trying to do water or you're trying to do a gradient or something, that would be really hard to do if you're trying to go around small areas. And I'm going to be putting the steering wheel on mine, so that would be just more annoying trying to go around all those edges. So we're not going to worry about that. We're going to just do our background so we can do it without having to think about that. I'm going to get out some teal, gray, different colors that remind me of sort of like a dark sea, because I want all dark background for my letters to show really well. So I'm gonna something that's gonna complement the gold shimmery. And you know, this is part of this is a Cricut vinyl, and it is it's called permanent matte. It's a mixture. I got this whole roll. Let me show. Walmart. Actually on clearance at Walmart for $5, so that's why I went and bought this guy. But it's a multi-pack, so I got all these different metallics, and you get a full 12 by 12 sheet of all those different colors in the vinyl. And they call it matte, but it's really shiny. It's very nice. It's like a shimmery metallic look. So I thought this was a really cool find. I was glad to find that in the clearance aisle. So never skip the clearance aisle at Walmart. Now for this kind of background, I want all my strokes to be going in the same direction. I know sometimes, like when I did the koi fish painting, I kind of want a blotchy background, so I just sort of tapped it on here and there wherever I wanted it. But on this one, I want it to just sort of look like you can tell where my strokes are going, and I want them to all be going up and down. So I'm going to maintain that the whole way and make sure that when I let up, I'm not going to let up harshly, because then you're going to see where my brush stopped and started. I'm just going to sort of let up lightly, and I know it's hard to see when I'm going a little fast, but that is what I'm doing. You can kind of, while the paint is still wet, you can go and do that edge and then just pull. You want to do this part quick, because if you let your paint dry, it's not going to blend. If you keep it wet, keep it moving, then it'll do more of what you want it to do. So just experiment with that a little bit. Kind of, I know it's hard sometimes to do it quickly because it might not always come out the way you want. You're just kind of afraid to mess it up. I'm thinking going fast is going to mess it up, but it will work with you a lot easier if you just do it nice and fast. And also the longer the stroke, so if you can just start at the top and pull all the way to the bottom and try to not stop your stroke at all while pulling that paint, then you'll have a cleaner stripe or line, so where you see your brush stroke going. It'll be a lot neater, and it'll be more of a straight line as you're going down. Just streak in some other colors wherever you need some variance. It's starting to blend together and look what I call kind of muddy. When all your colors start to mix up and you can't really tell the difference in the color, just add in a little more of one color somewhere. Really kind of get a nice drastic change there where you can see, okay, there's my color, and just let it streak in and not really worry about trying to hide it. The whole thing is one, sort of one color. It's all been coated now, and it all sort of looks like the ocean, but I can tell because of the shine that the paint is still wet. So if you wanted to, without getting too crazy, because I don't want this to be a very light color, but I do kind of want some shine somewhere, I just got the tiniest little dab of white paint on the corner of my brush, and you can even start at the bottom, because we know when we go and stick stuff on here, the stuff that we're sticking down is going to be near the bottom, so we can kind of try it out in an area where we know can get covered up if we need to. But doing this while it's wet allows you to just sort of lightly wisp in just very small little strokes of some of the lighter color to lighten up some areas, and just to give, again, just a little difference in the color so you can see that it's not all one piece. Maybe some light is shining here somewhere. So now if you don't like how drastic it is, don't like how bright it's showing up, and you want it to be a little more subtle, you just go back and forth and blend it in. The more you go back and forth over that same area, the better it'll blend in. And I think that's all I want for white. I'm gonna leave it just like that. Get this blown dry, check on the flip-flops, and then get started with putting the rope in the place of where these little rubber pieces used to be. So now this is mostly dry here, and I imagine okay, so the wheel is going to be down this corner. That's where you're going to be seeing it, and I know that these, the handles, spokes, whatever they are, this one needs to come up a little higher, but it was 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, so I didn't worry about that. I just kind of stopped it right there. But now I'm going to make it come a little bit higher. And so that's going to be the background, nice dark browns for that. And then I wanted one flip-flop right here, sort of hanging off a little bit. And maybe the other one just sort of right there, also hanging off. And I don't want them to be doing this, so I know I'm going to glue them down. I don't want this to happen. So what I want to do is cut them. So I got some of my sturdiest scissors, which I think did come from the dollar store, but they're my trusty cardboard scissors. When I need to cut little cardboard pieces, this is what I use, because I know that these are sturdy and they're not going to come apart. So I think I will just sort of lay these flip-flops on top of each other where I want them to be. I use a pencil to trace along where they overlap, okay? And I am just going to just go for it. I'm just going to cut these flip-flops with my good scissors. I guess you could use an X-Acto knife for this, but I really don't like using those. I don't trust myself. So I'm just going to cut along that line carefully. And it actually cuts surprisingly easy. I wasn't sure how that was going to work. And find our spot where we had them, just like that. Okay, so that'll give us a nice area where we can glue it down. It'll be nice and flush up against it, and we won't have to worry about any area where it's kind of wobbling and teetering and has a little gap there. So we'll be able to slide it right back into place. Okay, so we'll put those aside. This is garbage unless you could find some other use for it. Kind of a nice thick piece of foam though. Maybe it could be a good little, if you cut it into cubes, it could be like something that you could use behind some chipboard to give something a little bit of, I don't know, some 3D. But maybe you could save that for something. Now let's get our graphite down. This is how we do the graphite transfer. You just put the dark side down. So that's the part that is going to transfer off onto the canvas. You lay your image down on top of it, just like so. If you need to, you want to tape it down to be sure it doesn't go anywhere. So use painter's tape for everything. And so I like to get a little bit on the paper, a little bit on the graphite, and then just wrap it around. I've got both things kind of tied down. Same thing right here on this corner. So a little bit on the paper, a little bit touching the graphite, and then just wrap it around. Be careful when you peel it off though, because you don't want to tear up the graphite as you're peeling it off. So whenever I have a class and I have kids dealing with this stuff, I always do that part for them, because I don't want them to accidentally rip the graphite, and then I don't have a nice piece that I can use again. And I don't even, you could use a pencil, just something to go and trace around, but I'm going to use this because it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to write. The graphite on the back is what's transferring onto the canvas anyway, so I use something like this. I don't make marks on this image, and if I want to use the image again, I can without seeing a bunch of messy lines everywhere. So I just use, this is, I don't know what this is, some kind of a whittling tool or something you might use with clay, and I use the tip of it. So let me just go around, maybe start in the center so I can remember where I stopped and started. Press hard. And just go over all of your lines carefully, slowly, and with a fair amount of pressure. All right, so now I got all areas of my steering wheel. I start in the back. I peel that up from the back. I only got 2 pieces of tape holding it down. And I go to this side, pull that off, and then you get to see and make sure that everything looks the way it should. And it does. So I got the steering wheel on there, and depending on how dark your background is, this I was able to see it pretty well. If your background was darker, if you were doing a black background, you'd have a hard time seeing it, which is why I think they should make white graphite. Not sure if they do, but they should. But I've only ever seen black, so because you do have a hard time seeing it. Sometimes you just have to kind of trust that you'll see like a little shine on there, kind of like the shine of a pencil lead, but not always that easy to see. And then I always save these images because these can be used again. So in case you ever want to make the same thing or use a steering wheel on something else, save this. I put them in a binder. I punch, I 3 holes on the side and just stick them in a binder to be used again. Okay, now this can be painted. I'm going to get myself some brown, maybe a little bit of this lighter color to lighten up the brown. Or I might just use white, maybe throw in a little gray or something. And I'm just kind of wanting the shape of it on there. I don't want a whole lot of detail. This is not the focal point. It's more the flip-flops. I want to show those off. This is kind of just the background, but it's so that I don't just have a plain blue background, something beachy, to go with the theme. So I'm not going to worry too much. I might put a little highlight somewhere around where the definition needs to be, like where these rings are, and kind of figure that out as I go. But let me use one of these brushes because these brushes are cool. They can be, they can draw a fine line if you need them to, if you don't use a lot of pressure, but if you press a little harder, you can get a thicker line. So that's why I like using these. I just got 2 of the same in case I want to mix it up a little bit. Well, let me get started on that, and then we can figure out what to do with our words and our flip-flops. Now notice when I go around and I need to do the circles, I just press down fully. So I'm pressing it all the way so that I can have better control of where the bristles are going. Because if I don't push down all the way, there's a chance that I could wiggle. I might, go up and down a little bit, and I don't want to do that. I just want to keep it firmly stuck down on the canvas and slide it slowly as I go around the circle's edge. And it does always do a very nice job when I do it that way. Also, I like to hold it down low. A lot of times if people are having trouble getting control of where the paint is going, is because they're holding it too high. And I'll exaggerate, but imagine just holding it at the tip. Imagine sweeping, holding the broom at the very end, the handle of it. You're not going to be able to control where that broom is going. You're not going to be able to control where your paint is going. So the lower you hold it, the easier it is. So just try practicing that, scooting your fingers down further and further to the bristles. You don't want to get too close because that would be uncomfortable, and you might even be running your hand through the paint. But just kind of get yourself comfortable with holding the brush at different places and see what that can do for you. While my paint is still wet, I'm just going to go around some areas with just a little touch of white on my brush. Kind of just drag it through until it runs out, just to sort of give some dimension. This will show us that this part here must be closer to us than the handles, because that's why we're able to see the light shining on it. So those must be in the background, and it just gives us a little bit of light to work with. And I might even do a little bit on the other side as well, maybe the centerpiece. But very important that you do it while the paint is wet, or you're going to end up with a really bright, bold line that's not what you want here. So there's that. And again, I'm kind of pressing firmly as I go around because I want to make sure that my brush goes where I want it to go. So there's that. A bit in the center, just a bit. All right, and I do like how it kind of did come out with a nice fine line right there of white, so I think I'll just try to achieve the same look right there. Very cool. Okay, I noticed that a lot of the pictures, the clip art that I looked at, had some little some rivets, I don't know, like something holding these in place, and so I might just put a little dot with maybe this umber color, which is really dark. It's almost black. Grumbacher. And I might just use the back of my brush to do that. Kind of putting one wherever at the cross point here, where if this was an actual nail holding this in place, that's where it would need to be. So I put them in line with where those handles are, like that. And you could use black for this too if you wanted to. And then again, there would be some more over here. Alright, so I cut myself some of this rope, and I didn't want to waste it, so I didn't cut a whole bunch. Maybe I cut like, I don't know, 18 inches or so, and I gave it a nice knot in the middle. This starting point already had some tape on the end, which kind of gave me an idea, and I thought, oh, well, I guess if it's too frayed and I'm not able to poke it in to this little rubbery spot here, then I could always wrap some tape around it. So I'm just going to go in and just sort of twist, and actually put a little hot glue in the hole first to make sure that it stays. And by the way, if you like to have your glue gun near you while you're working, but you don't want to get glue all over everything, just have a little silicone mat, you know, like one of those baking mats. That's what I have here. So you can have one of those near you, and that'll protect your counters, but still allow you to have your glue gun in your little workspace. So I'm just adjusting it so it'll fit where I want it. And this is actually, I'm not going to put anything through this hole because I'd have to put 2 through there, and I won't be able to do that. So that's just going to be the knot, and the knot is going to stay right there, but I do want this part to be slightly up so that if you were to put your foot in there, you'd have room for a foot. Okay, and the other piece is going in here, so I may need to twist it a little bit to get that in there, but it's easy to do because this rubber works with you. So there it is. Use a poker, use a pencil or something to get it through if you need to. Okay, and then pull it through, maybe a little too tight, and then just adjust it the way you want it to be adjusted. And then I'm going to put glue right under this knot. Glue stick. Some glue under the knot. Okay. Hold that down for a second. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue right around here just to hold those in place. And then they are going to stay up nicely because, you know, the rubber's just holding them in place. It's really kind of snug. That's perfect. And I'll trim off the back, whatever's extra in the back. All right, cool. So that's pretty secure. It's not going anywhere. And also, this is all very waterproof, so this could be an outdoor, you know, hanging. And that would be okay. So I'm just going to flip over on the back. You got these things sticking out, so I'm just going to cut them so they're nice and flat. Again, use your good scissors because, you know, this is going to be hard to cut through. All right. Okay. All right, and this is easily could just be left like that because that little knot is really cool. It just kind of, you know, reminds you of a sailboat or something, you know, some fancy sailing knot. But also you could put a little shell or something on there. So I haven't decided yet what I want to do, but that's the one. And then remember the other one is going to be kind of like in this little crevice here, just resting there, but it's going to have the same thing going on. I'm going to do the same so it matches with the rope. So let me get that one done. You don't need to watch that part, but let me do it real quick and we'll come back. So I am peeling off the outer part here on the vinyl that was cut on the Cricut, and I took one for the team and made a mistake, so you guys don't have to. This metallic vinyl is a lot thicker than the regular vinyl, and it feels a lot like cardstock. And so when I cut it, of course I just cut it on the regular vinyl setting because I hadn't peeled it up yet to know that it was this thick. And so actually when it cut, it didn't cut all the way through. It scored it a little bit, and that would only be helpful with paper because then I can just, you know, kind of finish with perforated lines and figure out what needs to get pulled away. Didn't really work with the vinyl because then, you know, you'll rip it, you'll tear it, your plastic will pull in a direction you don't want it to. And so I just had to experiment a little bit. Sometimes I find that the Cricut is a little bit, I don't know, not very friendly with instructions. Kind of just give you an idea book and send you packing. So, you know, just having to kind of play around with it a little bit without wanting to waste too much of this vinyl. But thankfully, the first try, I just figured, okay, let's just put it on the light cardstock setting. So if you are using metallic, it's very thick. So set it on the light cardstock setting, and that's with a Cricut Maker. I know with the different machines it's going to be a little different, but light cardstock, I guess just like a medium pressure if you're using another machine where you have to set the pressure. And then that worked perfectly. That cut them out just fine. Okay, so it's going to go up here. I know, because the flip-flops are going to go over here like that. So they're going to hang off a little bit, and I want my words to go up there. I think this would look good with white or black or something bold. And like I said, you could even do this with paint pen, but I just figured I'll go and do mine with Cricut, so that way I get another chance to use that for something. Get my transfer paper and get this placed up in the corner. Kind of just kept it on the paper a little bit too, because I didn't want to have unnecessary, I guess, sticker showing, because it could possibly pick up some dust. And I think I like where it is right there. Sticking the letters down. I think you could probably also want to use the better gripping transfer tape, because they make a transfer tape with a stronger grip, and that's for well, it's for the glitter vinyl, and it's for I guess like the fabric that you might be transferring on, and evidently probably what you'd want to use with the metallic, since it's just a totally different feel. I think that got it. There we go. And it just needs a stronger grip sometimes, but I think if you do it right, and with the help of a fingernail or two, you can do this just fine with the regular transfer paper without having to buy the other one. I think contact paper would probably be the same thing also. I haven't tried it, but I'm sure it's very similar. It's just really something, you just need something clear and sticky that'll let you grab the sticker, see what you're grabbing, make sure it's straight, and then, using the lines to help you kind of make sure you're placing it evenly. Okay, there's that. We just need the glue gun to put our flip-flops down. And I think a couple of shells somewhere wouldn't hurt either. So if we wanted to kind of, maybe like I said, on the knot or wherever, maybe like down here in the corner, something like that. But we are just about done with this thing. Let's just load it up with some glue in the back. Make sure it doesn't fall off. Alright, remember we wanted it to hang off a little bit. Make sure you're gluing it where you want it. Like that. Okay, and it's nice and flat. Good. I didn't have that weird little wobbly thing going on where they were going to be overlapping in a weird way. So, and don't forget to get along this little edge here, because you need something to hold them together. Just a little bit. And I know with these bigger glue projects, I should probably just break out the bigger full-size glue gun, but I just like these minis way too much because they're, low temp and easy to use and everything. So there you go. Just hold that in place to make sure that you don't have a gap here. And I think from far away you wouldn't even be able to tell that these are actually foamy flip-flops. You would think that these are made out of wood, or that it was store-bought. This could easily be found in a store for like $50, because of a brand name, or because it's some fancy home decor floral piece or whatever. But look how cheaply we can make this. $1 for this, $1 for these, $1 for this. And then the letters, of course, can be written with anything, whatever you have. The paint, what do we use? Hardly anything, or barely an ounce. I'm just gonna slip a little bit of glue back under here. Shells, if you have shells, you can find them at the beach. You don't have to buy shells. You don't have to buy a bag of $5 shells from Michael's. Find them at the beach. Stick a couple on here. This is really cool. This is something that you could put a little bit of this kind of twine, maybe a thinner piece of twine in the back, hot glue it so you don't see it. Put a little piece right here, and you can hang this up, hang it by the pool, put it on your front door. Who says you have to hang a wreath on the door? You can hang something like this on the door too. So super easy, super cheap. Don't not do a crafting project because the prices at Michael's are way too much or whatever. Find them cheaper. Use the stuff you already have.